Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Town Book Center Presents event. I am super excited because A, it's our first one of 2022, so that's exciting in and of itself, and B, I get to just sit back and enjoy with the rest of you as two wonderful authors talk amongst themselves, which means you don't have to listen to me try and come up with intelligent questions. We get to listen to people much smarter than me. So let's talk about those people. We have Rachel Roasek here. Rachel received her BA from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro in 2017 with a degree in drama and 2 minors in sign language and anthropology. When not coming up with fictional worlds, she works as both a voice actor and stage technician. Her debut young adult novel, Love Somebody, is now available. She currently lives in Voorhees, New Jersey with a few dying plants and her dog, Lupe. Nita Tyndall is a passionate queer advocate and literary translator who writes the kinds of books they needed in high school. Their translations from the German have appeared in world literature today, and they have previously written for outlets like Autostraddle and were part of the Lambda Literary Writers Retreat in 2017. Their debut young adult novel, Who I Was With Her, is now available in paperback. They live in North Carolina with their partner and a beautiful fluffy cat. You can find them at Nita Tyndall on Twitter and Instagram. So before I turn it over to the two of you to talk, I just wanted to thank you both for being here with me tonight and letting me just kind of get to enjoy the show, so to speak.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. And with that out of the way, I'm going to mute myself and let the two of you go.
All right.
Let's go ahead and kick this off. And maybe for anybody who doesn't know Rachel, if you want to kind of give us a short pitch or tell us what Love Somebody is about.
About the book, not about me.
About the book. No,
thank God. Okay. Okay. So for anyone who isn't aware, Love Somebody is a young adult retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac, which is an old French classic play. And the basic pitch is that it centers around 3 high school juniors. And one of them, Christian, has an encounter with a girl named Roz, and it's kind of crush at first sight. But he is absolutely terrible with words. He cannot hold the conversation to save his own life. So he enlists his very charismatic best friend and also ex-girlfriend, Sam, and asks her to pretend to be him over text and call him while he's on dates with her and have her in his headphones so that she can tell him what to say in order to kind of win her over. The only snag is that during this process, Sam ends up falling for Roz too, and it royally screws the whole plan up. And it's very messy, and I love it.
I will gush a little bit. I did absolutely adore this. I thought it was so good. I love all of your characters. I loved your writing. I love the dynamics between everybody. It just felt just really fresh and really good and super messy in the best way possible.
I love mess. I love mess.
We love to see it. So, I'll go ahead and go into the first actual question then. So what was it like working on a retelling, especially of something that's that old? How did you keep it modern and true to YA and at the same time stay faithful to that original story?
Right. Excuse me. Well, with a lot of older Renaissance, British Renaissance, French Renaissance plays, you see them get readapted and redone and modernized today. Anywhere you go, somebody's doing a modernized Shakespeare of anything, or a 60s Shakespeare, or it's because the basic premise is entirely based around character interactions. It's the heart of them is how the characters interact. So if those situations are still valid in the modern day, it's really easy to just kind of polish him up a bit and bring him to something new. I mean, the entire premise of Cyrano de Bergerac is a guy falls in love with a girl. He is totally terrible with his words. And so he goes to his friend Cyrano, and he's like, "You're such a good speaker. You're so good at talking to people. Please talk to this girl." And Sarah and I was like, oh no, I'm already in love with her, but I guess I will, fine. And there's rom-coms today that have close to that plot, basically. Like, so it really wasn't hard. I mean, these things are timeless. There's a reason people keep doing Shakespeare, and the reason people keep doing like Moliere and Cyrano and things like that. Like, they just people haven't changed, so the situations keep being fun.
Yeah. God, that was such a theater major answer, though.
I know.
I did want to ask, because theater is, I think, such an important part of this as well. How
Right.
did your theater background like influence, especially Sam and Ross and kind of their interactions?
Right. It did mean I had to do a lot less research. Because, like Sam, I have her whole thing at the beginning is she's putting on a play that she like wrote and produced and everything, and I've done that, and it's so hard. The hardest part about that was imagining a high schooler having to do that, because it's so much work. But yeah, theater, being from the background that I'm from, means that like understanding of dialogue and character interaction and character motivation is super forefront in my mind, because that's all you get taught in drama school is like, why are you doing the thing that you're doing? I don't care that you know the lines. I want to know why you're saying them, and why you're doing what you're doing. So yeah, especially with Sam and Roz, it's, yeah, character motivation is very, what was the question?
It was how your theater background influenced Sam and Roz in general, I think, but also
Sam and Roz in general. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Well, yeah, especially for them, all they really did was talk. You know, whether with Sam as Christian or Sam as herself. All they really do for a good portion of the novel is just sort of talk to each other. There's no real interaction, in person at least. So having that knowledge of like their language has to be super specific to each other, and you have to get across as much character and as much bonding just through lines of dialogue. And I mean, interestingly enough, sometimes that is in text message form, which just when you read it ends up looking like lines in a script. It's got the name attribution next to it and like exactly what they say. So it am I alluding to the fact that chatfic is basically just like plays a little bit like the modern play? Maybe, who knows?
Yep. So I know you said like the theater background and stuff made it easy to work on this. What was the difficult part of working on this for you, or was there a difficult part of working on it?
Writing it. Well, I mean, this is the fastest I've ever written a book. It was in about 6-7 months. Normally it takes me years. Yeah. So that was probably one of the hardest parts of it. I would say the other hardest part was trying to get into I had a lot of trouble with Roz, actually. She really clicked, like, obviously I went back and edited, but like when I was actually writing, she mostly clicked for me towards the end. Whereas I really, really understood Sam. I sort of understood Christian, and then I understood him like as I started writing. But Roz took me a while to get, because she's I will fully admit at the very beginning, she has a lot of not like other girls syndrome, which is a little bit insufferable, because come on. No, you're like other girls. There's nothing wrong with that. But so trying to get her to grow past that and realize like, I'm not special, but like every other girl is. and trying to get her past that. And her like growing up experience is so vastly different to what I grew up with, and so that completely changes her way of thinking and the way she comes at things. So having to sort of get in her headspace for that was probably one of the bigger challenges.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, God, unlearning that I'm not like other girls mentality.
We all had it when we were like teenagers, and it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, I definitely had it.
Yeah.
Not a fun time.
Teenage girls, you are like other girls, and that's okay. Girls are great. Anyway,
you mentioned that it was hard getting into Roz's head. What was it like doing the multiple point of view? Like, how was it difficult to try to balance that? I've never done that. I don't know if I ever will, because it seems really hard.
It's hard. I'd never tried doing multiple POVs before. So my biggest fear going in was that they would all sound exactly the same. And so I had to work really hard to like make sure that their voices were distinct. And try and like choose how they would and I'm honestly most proud of it shocker, based on the premise. There's a lot of texting in this book. There's a lot of text conversations, and my biggest sort of pat on my own back there is the different texting styles of all three, because Roz, of course, very smart, very, standoffish, all capitals, correct punctuation, set pairs at the end of sentences, doesn't use emojis. Sam has auto capitalize on, and like leaves off the periods on the end of sentences, uses lots of emojis, uses different like language choice. And Christian like doesn't capitalize anything. He doesn't have time. He's a very terrible texter. He's so bad. But I mean, and then obviously having to carry that through in their narration too, like what words would they pick for this? And yeah, that was the hardest part, was making them all sound like three different people.
Yeah. God, I bet. Props to you. You really did it. You did a good job. Let's see. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to ask about like the relationships between all three of them as well, because I think really this is a retelling, but it's also a very character-driven novel, kind of like we've talked about. So, and it's got a lot of queer relationships in it too. So, what for you was important about either portraying the queer relationships or like Sam and Christian still being friends? Because you don't see that dynamic a lot in YA, kind of like at all. So, like, what? I had lost my train of thought, but like, what? How was that for you, like in portraying all these different relationships?
Right. I think we talk a lot about like representation in fiction of making sure that people can see themselves, and it's important in all aspects, whether that's gender, race, sexuality, ability level, things like that. But on a much smaller level, I think it's also important to show like just different life experiences or like different kinds of relationships, and be like, no, this is a thing that you can have. It's not unheard of. Like Sam and Christian still being friends, like after they've broken up. For a lot of people, it's like, what? What are you talking about? But I mean, this is rigged.
This is not rigged.
It's rigged. Because that is a thing. People can still, provided the relationship wasn't unhealthy and you parted on good terms, like people can be friends after they stop being in a relationship. I mean, you would not be interviewing me if they did. Yeah, in the interest of full disclosure, yes. We met in high school. But yeah, like it's possible, and you keep so many great friends if you do that, and like it's a thing. It's a thing. It happens, and different types of relationships, and the different family structures because Sam lives with her grandma, Roz lives with her adoptive dad, and Christian has the typical, married with siblings and married parents with siblings and all that stuff. I think just showing little life experiences is important too, because people can feel weird for those, maybe not necessarily on the same level as, their sexuality and things like that, but it's nice to see little things in fiction and go, oh yeah, I know what that's like. It's nice to feel seen, even in little ways.
Yeah, definitely. I think that being friends with your ex thing it feels very a part of queer subculture.
Oh, well. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, especially queer subculture. There are so many people who are friends with their exes. It's completely not uncommon.
No, definitely not. So I think it's interesting too that you got to bring that in with Sam and Christian's relationship too, even though they are a heterosexual couple as well. It was really kind of cool to see that, because I definitely don't think you see that type of narrative for heterosexual couples.
Yeah, male female couple, you don't see it as much, but I wanted that, and I wanted to make it very clear too that they were not going to get that wasn't the romantic tension, right. That she got jealous. That was never going to be the
right.
Not jealous of Christian.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely got jealous of Roz.
Somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, because I really appreciated all the different family dynamics that you had in this as well, and kind of showing the nuances of all of them, even though they all had different family structures and different relationships with their families. I thought you did a really good job of showing all the different aspects of that, and that not all of them were perfect and not all of them were idealized regardless of the family relationship. So you want to kind of talk about constructing those?
Sure. I guess a main thing that I kept in mind while I was writing this is there are a lot of different kinds of ways relationships can be or can look. And not all of them are necessarily ones that you need to hang on to. But some of them are. Some of them very much are. And you have to kind of learn which ones you want to hang on to, and which people who you want to love, basically. And that's another important thing to have on page, I think, for people who maybe have some of those relationships that they don't maybe need to hang on to, or aren't serving them, or aren't healthy. Having that on page, seeing something that kind of rings a bell, and thinking, sounds like my friendship with so-and-so, or sounds like my relationship, or sounds like whatever. Having that to be a little bit of a wake-up call, maybe. And to know that that you're not alone in that is very, very comforting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of that, I think one of the ones I really appreciated that I think not will get overlooked, but that we don't see as much in YA is the sibling relationship too, especially with Christian and his brother as well. Mm-hmm. As someone who does not have siblings, I super, super intrigued by that.
Right.
So did I guess kind of what went into crafting his relationship with his brother too, because that was, to me, that was especially interesting.
Right. Well, I knew going in that Christian's brother, Will, and Christian would not have spoken in a very long time. They hadn't spoken. They haven't heard from each other in years. But I didn't know why right away. But I knew I didn't want to make him a bad character. I didn't want to make him a bad guy. Right. he's not estranged because he was terrible and then he pieced out or whatever. It's something that brings up a lot of bad memories for Christian, but he still misses the guy. So having to when I was plotting and figuring everything out and nailing down characters and stuff like that, I had to really figure out why he might have left and what ways he could have left and broken contact that would still make him a more sympathetic character, someone that Christian could still look on memories of fondly, basically. And yeah, I liked exploring the dynamic of somebody with an older sibling. Being an older sibling, I don't know what that's like. So I liked the idea of playing with that too, of figuring out what it feels like to have an older sibling and to have not heard from them for a while, and yeah, again, different dynamics and different relationships. There's also relationships that go away for a while, and it's you decide whether you want to continue pursuing that or when you want to step back as well.
Yeah, I think you did a good job too. I feel like the Will would have been such an easy character to demonize, and you definitely did when you did not do that. And too, it sounds like you really took a very focused approach to not doing that as well.
Right. I mean, people have reasons for. Yeah. Excuse me. People have reasons for going quiet sometimes. Maybe they're good reasons. Maybe they're bad, but.
Getting back to that theater thing with the why.
Why, yeah.
Every single character's interaction.
Pardon me.
You're fine. Kind of to pivot a little bit, I think, away from talking about characterization and stuff, too, because this was your debut, which is very exciting, and it was a contemporary YA. Do you think that's a genre you'll want to stay in, or are you looking at, branching out? So why, I guess... kind of what I'm asking is if you could pick any genre, what would you work in? But also maybe what's next for you writing wise a little bit, or
right. This was genuinely one of my first attempts at contemporary YA. I am a lot more in the fantasy side of things, hard fiction fantasy side, whether that's high fantasy or fantasy in the modern day with cell phones and stuff. So that's definitely more where I sit. But I loved this. I would definitely try this again. I mean, again, the theater background, it's all about people coming into a room, talking, leaving a room, and building plot through character interaction only, because you can't have it's hard to do big magic stuff on stage, and this book let me flex those chops again of getting to really drive a story with just characters. And so I would love to do contemporary again. As far as what I'm working on right now, I want to write everything, all of it. I will say I have two ideas floating right now that are both young adult fantasy. One slightly-ish more modern, one very, very high fantasy. But I also dabble in adult fiction. I dabble in graphic novels. I do all of it. I want to do all of it.
Are there any other things that you'd want to retell specifically?
Sorry, repeat that.
You're totally fine. Are there any other specific retellings that you would want to do?
Ooh, I would love to do a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Ooh. Or I guess a dark Beauty and the Beast where I don't know. I don't want to give too I would love to do a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I've had a little bit of an idea floating around for that one for a while, so maybe.
Ooh, okay. Text me about that one later, because I want to know what it is. That sounds really cool. Let's see.
I apologize for the cough.
Look, 'tis the season.
'Tis the season. The last 2 years have been the season.
Oh God. Please don't remind me that it's been 2 years. I cannot wrap my brain around the fact that it's been 2 whole years of this. Let's see. Yeah, So we kind of touched on this, but I do want to go into it in a little bit more detail. In that love somebody, I mean, I think from the title is talking about, not only romantic love, but also kind of platonic love as well. And why do you think that it's important that platonic relationships are portrayed in stories, even with stories where like romance is like the main plot or the main feature? Like, why do you think about why do you think it's important to portray like platonic relationships as well?
Because I think in a lot of media, romantic love and romantic attraction gets pushed as the end all be all. It is like the one true highest form of love. And if you don't find that, you're never going to find anything good enough. And it's not true. It's not true. Romantic love is awesome, but it's not the only thing that there is. Like, some people are asexual, some people are aromantic, like, and platonic relationships and platonic like friendships and platonic love are so important. And whether or not you want a romantic relationship or anything like that, like, emotional connections are important with people, no matter who they are. And you can be as shut-in hermit, live in the middle of nowhere in a shed as you want. You've got to get connection somewhere. You've got to get love from somewhere, whether that's from a significant other, from a family member, from a friend, from a pet, or from yourself. Like, it's got to come from somewhere. And treating romantic love like it's the only thing that's ever going to fulfill you is A, dangerous, and B, just not true. There's so much more out there. Have friends. Have friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Dogs. I don't know.
Get a dog, get a cat, get something.
Get both.
You could get both. Why not both? Let's see. All right, this is just purely because I know you're a giant nerd and I really want to ask this.
Uh-oh.
What would everyone's D&D class be?
You didn't tell me you were going to ask this question.
I know.
Okay.
Surprise question. Surprise bonus question.
Crap. Okay. What would everybody's D&D class be? Oh, man. Okay. Easiest answer. Sam would be a bard. Very, very
You're
high,
not wrong.
Very, very high charisma. Persuasion is her thing. Deception. She's got expertise in deception. Probably some sort of, this is getting very D&D. She would probably be College of Glamour bard, because they have a lot of like disguise things, and I think that's quite fun. She could literally pretend to be Christian. Christian would, he would either be just a plain old white bread fighter, or I could see probably a paladin. Once he picks a cause and once he like stands up for it, I think he would be really, really good at that. And Roz, I want to say like a wizard. She's very smart. She trusts her own intelligence and her own mind enough that I think she could make magic out of it pretty easily.
Nice. Thank you. I really want to know that.
Yes.
All right. I think we have a few audience questions. I can ask those. Drew can hop back on and ask those, whatever we want to do. Let's see. I will ask. That sounds great. All right. Apologies, I'm not going to read the names of the people these questions are from. I really don't want to butcher anybody's name. But if you hear your question, if I see your question, it will get asked. So It's a question, maybe, but like, in a modern sense, is talking to someone on behalf of your friend to get the girl like a cool thing. Is this like a thing that people actually?
Oh, is this something kids are doing?
I didn't want to. Yeah, that is not how that person worded that question.
No, that's how
I would word that.
That's how I'm contextualizing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. I mean, it's the thing that we all kind of wish we could do. Like when you're so scared of talking to somebody, you're like, I don't want it. You do it. And I mean, there's always like that one friend, mostly in elementary school, who will go up to the guy on the soccer field and be like, so and so has a crush on you or whatever. I don't think that's really a super common thing. And I would encourage people, if they do like a person, you should probably be the one to tell them at some point. I don't think it should come from somebody else. It should probably come from you. Please don't take dating advice from me, though. Please don't.
Nope.
I'm not a professional. Please.
Can you? I'm just trying to imagine like professional dating. I'm sure that's. You know what? That's probably a plot for a sci-fi novel at some point. If you hire someone to be like your professional date.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Professional girlfriend.
I'd read that.
I would read that.
Yep. All right.
I think there's a question movie about that with Noah Centineo. He hires himself out for dates. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's see. So you do, I will say, because I'm thinking about like literature and thinking about tropes and stuff, you do kind of have, I know this is like all over, not even like TikTok book recs or like Tumblr fandom and whatnot, but you do kind of have that enemies to lovers aspect a little bit with Roz and Sam. Which is one of my favorite tropes too. So I kind of want to ask you two questions, which is one, what are some of the tropes that you think are in Love Somebody? And two, just what are some of your favorite tropes to write in general?
Well, one of the first answers to both of those questions is rivals or enemies to lovers. Love it. I put a little bit of it in Love Somebody. I wish I could have put more, honestly. I really wish I could have put more, but with the pacing and like the conversations I needed them to have, it just wasn't gonna. If I'd let them have enough enemies to lovers, they wouldn't have liked each other. So I wanted to fit more in, but I couldn't. Other tropes that are in Love Somebody. I don't know if there's a concise trope name for like playing Cyrano, for pretending to be somebody in order to win somebody else. It's not catfishing exactly. Mm-hmm. Because you know who you're impersonating. But if that's a trope and there's a nice concise name for it, please let me know, because that's the entire plot of the book. What else I think? One of my very, very favorite tropes, and one that is actually in Love Somebody, is the oh no. Where you're just going about your day, like interacting with this person, and they do something, and you just, oh God, I'm in love with them. That is one of my absolute favorite things, because you, the reader, can see it, but the character has no freaking clue until the oh no moment, and then you and the character at the same time are just, yes, finally, and it's such a good moment.
It's such a good moment.
I love it.
Speaking of, we got more context for the talking to someone on behalf of your friend thing. Because is it socially acceptable, or is it seen as more of like a form of emotional catfishing?
That's a tough question. Is it socially acceptable, or is it emotional catfishing? I wouldn't go so far, I think, as to call it social catfishing. If you are honestly saying, like, hey, this person thinks you're really cute, mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say it's socially acceptable either. Yeah, it's definitely not like if somebody came up to me in a bar and was like, hey, my friend thinks you're really cute, I'd be like, okay, where's your friend? Who are they? I don't know who you're talking about. But I wouldn't necessarily call it emotional catfishing, but not socially acceptable either. Not really.
Yeah, good answer. I mean, yeah, like you said, maybe relationship advice from not from you, but like from this situation is probably not
Grain of salt, folks. Grain of salt.
Yeah. All right. So we've got two. I'm going to kind of combine here. So someone asked, what's been your favorite part of the publication process so far? And then what has surprised you the most about the publication process so far?
Okay. What surprised me the most? I don't know why this surprised me. It shouldn't have. Is the stop and go nature of publishing, because it's either like you get sent an email like, what do you think about this thing? And you answer and they go, okay, great, thanks. And then you don't hear anything for like 3 weeks. And you go, oh my God, they've forgotten about me. What's happening? And then you get 7 emails in a row asking for feedback about 7 different things, and they all need to be due in the next like 3 days. One of them is your edits for like the entire book. One of the things. And you're just frantic going through it, and then you get all those things and they're like, okay, great, and then it's radio silence again for 2 weeks. It's fun. And it always seems to line up with like when your personal life is also a nightmare. Mm-hmm. When you've got other things in your life that are also have deadlines. So it shouldn't have been surprising, but it was. And honestly, I think my favorite part of publishing is getting to see it all come together. Like the first email you get with, hey, here's the first draft of your cover. Because then it's real. Somebody drew and designed a cover, and it's in your inbox, and it has your title and your name on it, and sometimes it even has your characters on it. And then it's real. And it's insane. And the same kind of feeling when they send you, the first formatting passes and things like that to show you like what the actual pages will look like, and you get to see how they format it and the fonts and yeah, so that's the best, because then you get reminded that it's a book and it's real and it's going to be something you can hold soon.
And other people are going to read it.
Yeah. We don't think about that part.
No. Mm-mm. No, that part doesn't exist. All right. We have another question that was, do you ever find yourself lacking inspiration to continue writing?
Yeah. All the time. Motivation is a very fickle beast. And trying to write without it is like pulling teeth. It is the worst. But when you're on a deadline, whether it's self-imposed or like imposed by a publisher or outside party, like it's got to get done. And honestly, there's going to be days when you're writing something and you hate every single word, every word you type. And you get maybe 300 words instead of the 3,000 you were planning, and they all suck, all 300 of them. But it's better than nothing. It is always better than nothing to get something down. And 8 times out of 10, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you come back and look at the words. They're not that bad. They just need a little bit of something, a little bit of juice. So. Yeah, writing without inspiration and without motivation sucks, but sometimes it has to happen. And once you have a structure, once you have a skeleton, it's easier to come back on a day when you do have inspiration and make it sound good.
Definitely, yeah. I forget who said that quote of like, it's easier to like, you can't fix what isn't written, essentially. Like you can't fix a blank page, but you can't fix a blank page. Gotta do something. No. Let's see all right, I have another question. What advice would you have for someone trying to...
they can ask questions.
Yeah, I'm not just pulling these off the top of my head at this point, so. But yeah, someone said, what advice do you have for someone trying to write and publish a book?
Ooh. What advice? it doesn't sound like advice, but you're going to want to give up about 400 times. You are at some point in the process, whether that's writing the book, if you're looking for an agent, getting an agent, if it's when you have an agent, if it's trying to find somebody to publish the dang thing, you're going to want to give up like 400 times. And it could take a really freaking long time, but you're always waiting for the one yes, like whoever made that saying it, all it takes is one yes. But it's true. All it takes is the one person who's like, yeah, sure, I'll publish it. And then suddenly you're holding it. So yeah, just know that you're going to want to give up a lot. But it's possible. It is possible. And I will say also, anyone trying to write or publish a book, you don't have to go in order if you don't want to. You don't have to write the book in order if you don't want to. On a day when the motivation is so terribly bad, you can just write the thing you're really looking forward to. You can just do it. And at least writing it down. And you'll have more fun.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Good for improv and good for writing.
Yeah, we'll play whose line.
Yep. Writing is just whose line.
Yeah, you're just improvising, and sometimes it sounds completely ridiculous.
And sometimes, but when it's good, it's like,
when it's good,
really good.
When it's Colin Mockery good, it's mwah.
Yep. Actually, yeah, since someone asked that, can you kind of like describe your publication journey for us? Because I think the way that you got to publish this one was pretty unique, and it's not something that we get to talk about a lot. So I would love to hear about your pub journey for Love Somebody.
Okay. So I've had an agent since, how long has it been? I was in college.
So at least 4 years ago.
Don't say that. I think it was 2016, late 2016. If I got that wrong, I'm so sorry, Alyssa. But we had been on submission for a different project that wasn't getting a lot of positive feedback. So we decided to sort of table that one for a bit. Again, Steve wanting to give up a million times. And then she sends me an email out of nowhere saying, hey, there is a company, an IT company that wants somebody to write a book for them, which is not super well known, I think, in like the publishing or the writing world, is that sometimes there are companies who produce IPs that basically they come up with an idea and then that they think will be popular, that they think will publish, and then they hire somebody to write it. And that's what Love Somebody was. It came to Alyssa as, we need somebody to write a modern YA retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac, where Cyrano is a woman, where Cyrano is a girl. And my agent thought of me immediately and was like, Rachel's got it. Theater nerd, queer romance, love it. I'll take it. And basically what you do is you kind of write them an audition. You write them a little proposal of, however much they require to see what you do. And it gets sent out to multiple agents who then send it out to any writers that are on their roster that they think would work. And the company reads all of the proposals and decides which person they want to write it. And then you just write the thing. You write it, and that's not you being picked to write the book is not a guarantee that it gets published, because this company is paying you to write the book. They are not then going to publish it. But once you do write it, they will help, send it out to publishers, and they help with if it does get picked up for publishing, then they will like help with marketing and things like that. Yeah, it's a really interesting process. I didn't know about it until a couple years ago, but it's a really interesting avenue, I think. And sometimes it's really nice to have somebody just hand you a plot. Like I got a Bible. I got a whole Bible of like, here's the beats we really want. Here's how we want it to end. And you get some input. You get to say like, here's how I think this should go a little bit, and you can tweak and play with things. But it's really nice to kind of just be given a plot and then make it yours. At least for me, it's nice to have like, you see the bones and then you get to put the clay on it to make it the sculpture. It's really, really, I thought it was fun. I liked it a lot. But that's another avenue for publishing and for book writing that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah, that's really freaking cool too.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 2 final questions. So when drafting, do you like complete silence, or do you like music or noise on in the background? And if so, what type of music do you like to listen to?
Mm-hmm. It depends on the day and the mood that I'm in, but most of the time it is probably music, and that varies. I get borderline obsessive about playlists, so
You make a good playlist, though.
thank you. It's my favorite method of procrastinating. I get obsessive with playlists. I make one for each important character. I make one for like any romantic relationships or pairings. I make one for the book itself that's just the vibes, just songs that match the vibe. And then if I'm getting like really, really into it, sometimes even certain scenes will have playlists, or I'll find like there's websites and apps where you can make like soundscapes. Like you can add ambient music like rain, or like sound effects like a creeping wood or footsteps and things like that. And you can sort of make like the sound of a scene or the sound of a room. So I'll make those to like get myself into the mindset of one specific scene if I need it. It's either all of that really complicated stuff, or it's just like instrumental, like ambient music, like synth or whatever makes the brain work.
That scene setting thing would be like super good for Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, I've used it for D&D before when I used to DM. My headphones just died. One second, I'm gonna plug these boys in.
No worries.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, they almost made it through the whole stream.
I know.
All right, so this is going to be our final question.
They really did almost make it through.
But agent first or writing first? Or does it kind of depend?
As in, should you write the book first or get the agent first?
Yes.
Actually, an easy question. Write the book first. Write the book first. Unless you are trying to write nonfiction, agents want to see an entire, like, polished book, or they will not take you on. Yeah, that's pretty across the board for anything fiction, and actually a good bit of nonfiction these days, but some nonfiction will take you on proposal. But yeah, if you're writing fiction, you got to write the whole book, and you've got to get it as polished and as neat and as well written as you possibly can before you send it out. Book first.
Always write the book first.
Always write the book first.
All right. Honestly, good advice to end on. So
yeah,
I don't know if Drew wants to come back and kind of close us out.
Drew,
I mean, wants is a strong word. No, I do. I always want to hear my own voice. It's a real problem. So first of all, thank you both so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun for me. As I alluded to, I love to just get to watch and enjoy. I don't ever get to ask questions, but that's okay. So now comes the part of the show, I'm so sorry everybody, where I have to shamelessly plug and be the, person that I am. But if you like this, if you think love if you think that love somebody, I can't read. I read an I there, and I was like, love is... No. If you think Love Somebody sounds like the kind of book you need to be reading, yes, I'm holding my copy. You can't see me. That's for both of our sakes. Trust me. You can get it at Town Book Center. We are located in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. We're right across the street from the largest Wegmans in the country. It's a weird flex, but it's what I got. If you are not comfortable being out and about right now, if you are like, ooh, yeah, like being outside, not my thing, you can always shop with us online. We will ship the book to you. We will also do curbside delivery. If you're like, I don't want you to have my address, don't send me things. That's also cool. Thank you both again so much for doing this with me tonight. I'm going to switch us to the outro card. If you guys have not already, please like and subscribe. We have, I think, like 60 videos. And while, you know, I won't pick favorites, this is my favorite. So I'm gonna end on that note. Thank you both again for doing this with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Of course. Thank you.